Hey everybody, John Ponick with the Mojave Valley Daily News, and this is our Valley Voices. We do it every Thursday at 4 o'clock live here on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Today, I have Bullhead City Assistant Fire Chief Scott Neal. How you doing, Scott?
Hey, thanks for having me, John.
Thanks for being here. We got a lot to talk about. First, let me go through your resume so people learn a little bit more about you. Not just the Malk Boys basketball coach, you also have a real job as well. Scott's been the Assistant Fire Chief since May of 2012. Has a total of 29 years in fire service. The first 4 years, Scott served as the Operations Chief, and in 2016 moved into the Logistics and Support Service Division. Also a Terrorism Liaison Officer for the Arizona Counterterrorism Information Center. Has a Bachelor of Science degree in Technology Management for Public Administration. Master's degree in the Homeland Security Studies from the Naval Postgraduate School. Scott and his wife Chantel have two sons, Zach, which I think any basketball fan in the area knows, as well as Josh, who every basketball fan in the area knows. Active in local athletics. Scott's active in the middle school and high school athletic programs year-round by coaching golf, basketball, and baseball as an adjunct faculty member at Malk. Whew.
That is a lot.
Keeps me busy.
Yes, keeps you busy. All right, so we got a bunch of things here I want to talk about. One thing we talked a little bit about before we came on the air, Jeff, about the firemen. Whenever the firemen appear in our paper, they have to buy donuts.
Yeah, that's
if
right.
you appear on the show, I would think that, and being the assistant fire chief, you probably got to buy stuff for all the stations, right?
For a week.
Yeah,
Dairy Queen.
I would think Dairy
Dilly
Queen,
bars or something.
Dilly
yeah.
bars.
Oh, he's trying
Right.
to make it easy on
The,
them.
the girls like those at the office, so
Oh, you're just going to buy it for them and
just
let,
a box.
Yeah.
Just get a box and set them on the table.
Let them have at it first, and
Yeah.
then the firemen as they roll in. You know, I used to work for the fire department.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you did. I worked 48 hours over there in Station 1.
Okay.
So I got
Yes.
fired after 48 hours.
Yes, that's right. It
Relieved
didn't
of
work out.
duty. Never got a call back for my second shift. I don't know why.
Chief's reviewing your files now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing with the weekend coming up here I wanted to talk to you about was fireworks safety.
Right.
We did a story, I think it was in this morning's paper, about the city's rules, the fire department's recommendations, the county's rules, the state rules. Can you just kind of help us sort through this?
Yeah. It's confusing because the city and the fire department are not the same entities, right? We don't work with the city directly. Obviously, we support each other in public safety all the time, but the city's stance is different than the fire department's. Fire department's stance is pretty clear. We have embraced what the county has put out, which is a ban of fireworks altogether, just due to the conditions of
How dry everything is.
the topography of this state is just so dry. It doesn't take much for anything to start making a major problem.
Mhm.
And so that's our stance. Now, we have no enforcement arm in the fire department. We don't have an enforcement division. That's what the city is there to do, is to enforce the laws and the ordinances of the city. So we're just saying no fireworks. But there's really no enforceable component to that from our end.
Right, and even if there were, then you're counting on, well, yeah, there's not. So you're counting on the city police department to go out and hopefully enforce your recommendations or your restrictions.
Well, they've opened up a window where they're allowing it, and outside that window, I believe they're on the same page as us. So you're coming into that window or in that window right now. So as of right now, we would just encourage everybody to take a look at what's going on out there in the state. You're reading about it all the time. Different parts of the state are burning. We just had a major fire up on the Hualapai Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I have a cottage up there, and you know, I feared that it was going to be gone, and so I can't support this type of ban enough on a personal note, because I saw almost firsthand how it could change your life. So. Bottom line is, just everybody needs to be safe in what they're doing out there, because it doesn't take much for one little accident to occur can cause damage to hundreds or thousands of people.
And it seems like every year, Jeff, back me up on this or tell me if I'm wrong, but every year the fireworks that they have for the 4th of July down at the Rockets on the river, don't we almost every year have some sort of little brush fire over there?
Yeah, we do, and that's going to happen because we have all the brush along the river there, and the fireworks are basically lit
landing
off
there.
right there. So if anything comes down close to that, it will start a fire.
Yeah, it's pretty common annually. We have crews that are staged every time the fireworks are produced, and inevitably we respond to some type of brush fire or something.
The good part about it is there's no structures around that area right there that
No.
Right.
unless it
Transients.
keeps going.
Is about the only thing we run into, homeless and
Transient.
transient people. We got to make sure that are
True.
accounted for if they're in that area. So.
But the point is that this is a monitored thing, and they still are having, and they're shooting them out over the water, and they're still having issues. So Joe Smith down, off of Brockman or wherever here in town, lighting them off in his yard, the chances are even higher for
That's
him.
right. Yeah.
Right. There's a limit. Of course, we know a lot of people don't adhere to even the type of fireworks that are being allowed, which are ground-based fireworks. We
Right.
still hear and see people shooting fireworks that leave the ground, which are banned by all people, all entities. So
No aerial fireworks.
no aerial fireworks.
Yeah, not even bottle rockets.
I mean, the ones that we see on the river, that's a $500,000 endeavor. Just enjoy those. I mean,
Yeah.
that's bigger than anything we could go
Yeah,
buy.
we can't even afford to think about buying that firework.
$500,000
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, you could, but I.
Well, no, I don't think so, John. No.
All right, so let's get into some other things.
Okay.
Fire Station 2 progress.
Okay. We moved into the design phase of Fire Station 2's rebuild. Since the beginning of the year, roughly, we have been working with Woman Construction, and they have met with us pretty much weekly since middle of January. And we've gone through 3 or 4 iterations of the design of the new fire station there. We're recapturing some of the space that currently exists, so we're not going to completely bulldoze every inch of that building, but 90% of it will
It
be.
needs it though, doesn't it?
Most
I mean,
of it.
A lot
yeah.
of it.
A handful of square feet were built in the not too distant past. Most of it is from the 70s.
And
or
I always notice a lot of water coming down out of the driveway there. What is
Yes.
that from?
Those are swamp coolers that live on top of the building, and they
Oh,
drain out the front and
okay.
down the pad there.
Time
So
to get rid of those.
we'll
huh?
re-engineer all that.
Yeah.
It'll be a completely different setup when it's all done, and I think it'll be a cornerstone property in the district there. And right now, the way the schedule is lining up is we will be deploying equipment and getting ready to break ground in December. So
Nice.
about 4 or 5 months.
And I know that one of the things, the first part of the bond, which Station 2 is part of the first part of the bond, we got a lot of new equipment in town.
Yes.
And that was one of the concerns, was the new equipment, especially the ladder trucks, being able to fit
In the building.
inside the building.
Right.
Awfully snug. So the new design. And Seabury Fritz is doing the design,
Correct.
right?
Seabury Fritz, they've been great to work with, by the way. Big, giant construction company like Woman Construction work with the best architects in the state, I'm sure, and they can't speak well enough of Seabury Fritz, our local people. They've done a great job working together, so we're very
Yes.
happy with them.
Scott Seabury and Greg Fritz down there in Fort Mojave do a lot of stuff for the community, so really nice that somebody local here got awarded that.
Yes, it's very convenient for us to be able to just drive down 20 minutes and go see them if we need to, instead of going to Phoenix.
Yeah.
So that's been great, but they've done top-notch work, and we expect the product to be indicative of that when it's all done.
Good.
So,
There was some talk originally to maybe move some of the admin offices over there. Are you still thinking about that?
admin is not going to be there anymore. We're
No?
going to take our admin offices out of that design, and we're going to move it to the Laughlin Ranch Station
Okay.
when that gets built.
All right. So let's talk about the Laughlin Ranch
Sure.
Station.
Sure.
When we, very early in this, it was that was going to be bumped to phase 2 of the bond.
Right.
And then it was still not going to move forward, from what I understood, until there were enough residents, or you're getting close to having enough residents out there to justify building it and staffing it. Doesn't make any sense to build it without staffing it.
Right.
You already own the property up there.
We do.
Do you believe now that we're at a spot to where there's enough residents up there?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, we have every intention and plan to start that station design probably not too long after the groundbreaking of Station 2. So early
Oh.
next year. We've already secured the second half of our bond sale that closed about a month ago. And so we have the second fund sitting in our account at the county level. And we're ready to we're kind of going to daisy chain the progress from Station 2 and just roll that momentum into Station 7. The call volume is definitely getting to the point where it's becoming tough for us to get to that part of the city more often in a timely manner because units are just busy all the time.
Yeah, so if you can explain that, I know that you've explained it to me before and I got it, so if I can get it, I'm sure that anybody out there listening can understand it. You've got a requirement on how long it takes to get from the fire station to the resident.
Any place in the city, 4 to 6 minutes is our window.
6
That's what we're
minutes.
looking at.
All right, so if you are up in Laughlin Ranch, what stations are responding to Laughlin Ranch?
Station 2,
Okay.
which is right now the station we're getting ready to rebuild.
All right, so Station 2 needs to come down to Laughlin Ranch Boulevard, take that heavy truck
Yep.
all the way up Laughlin Ranch
Right.
Boulevard. To the very beginning of Laughlin Ranch is at least 5 minutes, I would guess.
It's at least 5 minutes. And before the bypass was there, it was closer to 10.
Because they would have to go down to the
They
light.
had to go down to Silver Creek. So Silver Creek was our main thoroughfare to the parkway from Station 2. Now, at the time before the bypass was put in a couple years ago, Station 5 was the main fire station that went to Laughlin Ranch. Logistically, it was a little closer.
And 5 is the one that's
All the way at the
far
south
end.
end by Target.
Yeah,
So can you imagine that unit going all the way to Laughlin Ranch as a primary unit? That was tough
Yeah.
because there's a long run. There's several lights that has to be gone through as well as, it's just distance-wise, it's miles.
yeah,
Just to get there. Then you got to go find the residents.
yeah. Then you got to turn up the hill, and then you got to find which development and all that's got to go into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I live in Laughlin Ranch, and there's no less than a dozen homes going up at any given time right now. So we got to get ahead of this building curve. I mean, the longer we wait, not only will the people get in there, but also the cost of building is going to be driven to a point where our bond won't even be able to, build. So we got to get that money invested into the property as soon as we can.
Yeah, and that's one thing we had talked about when you were looking for some of the other the extractors.
Right.
Trying to get contractors to come in and do those things. It was everyone's busy. Everyone's still super busy.
Still super busy.
Yeah.
It is so difficult to get anything done right now on a small scale because everything's going on a big scale.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a small project going on, and we always have those in our fire district, we always have little needs that we have contractor needs for. It's hard to get them to do any of these things because they're just so busy. We're lucky to find, what Wilming Construction, a major construction company, has enough resources right now to put on our project. I mean, they're doing fire stations and other types of buildings all over the state. So the fact that we secured them and they're investing in us from a Phoenix-based company is really a blessing.
And the fact that they were the lowest responsible bidder, lowest licensed, responsible, insured, and all that stuff.
Well,
bidder.
we didn't bid it that way. We did an RFQ, which basically qualifies the builder. It doesn't provide a price. We had a price in mind that we wanted to spend, but it wasn't a hard bid job. It was what's called a construction manager at risk.
Yeah.
And so we basically secured them based on their credentials and their quality of their work. And then now we've negotiated over the last few months the price to build per square foot.
Okay.
So
All right, good. Well, while we're talking about that, let's talk about the $500,000. This was out a few days ago.
Right.
The $500,000 that originally was planned for hydrant inspection or inspection
hydrant
repairs.
installations, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna add.
That has now been reallocated to the training center. And so for those who don't know, Fire Station 2 is the one across from Community Park. Behind it is the world's best training center.
Yes, and it's
That-
going to be even better.
It's not true, John.
It's not the world's best. It's nice. We shot a video down there. Of,
I know that
of
because
the
I've
guys-
been there. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's doing some work, doing a rescue operation in there.
That's right, yeah.
And it was pretty cool. but
Really
it
cool.
Certainly is not
But
where it needs.
It looks
to
like
be.
it was built in the '80s or something.
Yeah.
Not even built, just thrown there.
Yeah.
But they do it,
So as we got into the Station 2 design, it is incorporating also a training site revision as well. And we got to a point in our discussion with Wilming that the site work that is necessary to put this new training site where it needs to go, because it's going to move locations, it's going to cause some significant costs because we're going to be tearing out concrete and re-engineering part of the grounds. And so we needed that $500,000 diversion to help offset not only the cost of things that have gone up since this bond was put together 4 or 5 years ago, but also this particular part of the site work needed to be included, and it wasn't included. So we approached the fire board and the fire chief about this after all this discussion, and they agreed that it would be a good reallocation of the bond money.
So maybe get a state-of-the-art training center over there.
We will have a state-of-the-art training center.
Nice.
yes.
And that's the same training center that's used by Fort Mojave, Mojave Valley, correct?
We share it with a lot of different, Clark County's used it
Yeah.
for rappelling and doing, high-angle rescues.
Is that your guys' half helicopter that's sitting out there too?
No.
Whose is that? The airport's? Have you seen it,
I haven't seen it.
John?
No, I have no idea. what
Okay,
you're
there's a
talking-
helicopter out there. It's just vacant. It might be the airport's property.
Could be.
Maybe they train on it.
So the reason that you're able to move that 500,000 is because with the city taking over EPCOR, that will become the water or the utility department's responsibility,
Right.
inspecting and repairing and replacing those as well.
Right.
correct?
When the bond was first put forward to the community, we still did our own hydrant work. Not long after that, EPCOR took it, and then now we know that the city's going to most likely acquire it from them. So it's going to change hands a couple times since that period. That money would not have been a good use of bond money because it's not really our responsibility anymore.
Right.
So
Good.
put it to good use.
So it went to the oversight committee. The oversight committee said, "Yep, I think that's a good idea," and then on to the board, and they approved
They
it.
said yes. so-
Excellent.
Awesome.
Anything else in the bond phase 2 that we need to touch on, or is-
Other than Station 7, we are going to be buying auto pulse CPR machines. I know Fort Mojave has those, and they're a device that goes on a patient who needs chest compressions, and it automatically gives them very solid, very concise chest compressions, and they're found to be very effective in helping to increase the survivability of a patient it's been cardiac arrest. So we're going to buy one for every medic unit.
and I know that's something that we talked about as well. It's very tiring to perform chest compressions, and you have
Yeah.
to switch off. And if you're doing them right, it's very tiring. It's a lot faster than you think. It's a lot of work. So we saw a demonstration on them, and they're money well spent. So
Yes.
we're happy that all the things that you're getting
But
are
they're not cheap.
no.
So
No.
this
Yeah,
bond was
they're worth it, though. They save
necessary to
lives.
help, offset those costs. So.
Anything else in phase 2 that we should talk
That's
about?
it.
Is that good?
No,
Okay.
once those 2 items are done, the bond is completely invested, and then now it's just a matter of paying it off.
and the trucks that came in, and we did some reviews of those. Huh?
Those were
Went out,
awesome,
took
yeah,
them,
when they first came out, yeah.
Big flag on the
Yeah,
front.
those were
yeah,
really
they're,
cool
they're
looking.
awesome. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
great. Staffing.
Yes.
We've been watching. You've been adding a lot of staff, mostly firefighters and that.
Right.
How are you guys progressing with upper management and replacing people that have retired and moved on and all that?
Well, we've had a lot of them. We knew a couple years ago a lot of our upper experienced and senior people were going to be retiring. Well, it's happening. And we have replaced a training officer recently. Rank Gordon came to us from Kingman. We had an internal promotion to operations chief. That's Justin Flummer. So we've
Awesome
been
guy.
slowly.
That's who I worked under when I worked for the fire department.
Yes,
Yeah,
good
Chief
guy.
Flummer. Yeah.
Yep.
Captain Flummer.
And then, of course, the vacancy of him from battalion chief, we are getting ready to, we have done a testing process, getting ready to see where we're at with the battalion chiefs that are vacated. Right now, we're kind of ham and egging it with temporaries.
Yeah.
So-
A lot of experience over there, though. So I
Yep.
think you're in pretty good shape.
So,
Oh, Matt Curtis says hey.
hello.
Um, good. That's awesome. Chief McCabe and Firefighter Green were at the Raphael fire. Are they back?
They're back.
Okay.
They came back, and I think Chief McCabe was on duty yesterday. So he was, him and they both came back. And, I didn't get a briefing on all they did there, but for the most part, those guys, they took a water tender, so I'm sure they're delivering large amounts of water to whoever needed it. So,
And-
yep.
yeah,
But it won't be the last time we go out, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and how does that work? I mean, I saw this morning that it's 90% contained. That's great. Maureen Bissonette asked about news on the fire at Grand Canyon West. I don't know if you have any news on that, but
No, I don't.
how does it work when something like that happens? Do you guys just call them up and say, "Hey, what do you need?" Or
No.
Call them.
Yeah, it's so every season we go on a list, and we put on that list how many people we have certified in Red Card and Engine Boss that can take units out. We tell them what kind of apparatus we could send out, and then when the needs arise on a fire, a lot of these go federal quick. Like the Hualapai fire, within hours, it went from Pine Lake Fire Department to a federal fire. So they immediately put out the resource list that they need, and they start calling around. If in case of Hualapai, the closest the better, right? So they call us first. And if we can go, we do. So if we have not only the engine boss to drive the truck, but also a couple people to send with them, and the unit that they need is available, we send them. And it's usually a 2-week deployment, and then it can be renewed for 2 more weeks if they need them. In the meantime, the way staffing works behind us is that the feds pay for our people to work overtime for those who left, so we don't get short-staffed. And so if guys aren't wildland certified, they still get an opportunity to kind of work some overtime, and eventually that gets old, but
Yeah.
they can do it, and the department doesn't take the burden of the cost. The feds do.
A lot of
that's how it
logistics
works.
involved, huh?
Oh yeah, a lot of moving parts, and we got some pretty veteran people that do that, have been doing it a long time. They know the drill. They know, and they like doing it because they get to see all kinds of parts of the country they would never see, and many times it's a little cooler than Bullhead City. So,
which is basically everywhere else in
Anywhere.
the state.
everywhere
Anywhere.
else, right? Up in the mountains somewhere. So
Let's
yeah.
talk Milk basketball.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Basketball.
Woohoo.
Okay.
You guys had a pretty good year this year, right? Pretty good?
We had a
I'd say
good year.
Not too bad?
I will say, turning back the clock a year ago, when I had the opportunity to take on the head coaching job, I knew we had a talented team. I did. I knew, because I'd coached them in middle school. I've known these kids for a while. They've been together. But with the way COVID was affecting sports and our real limited ability to grasp a new coaching staff in a short period of time, I had no idea we would go as far as we did until it was happening. And so looking back on it now, I guess I'm not surprised, but at the time we were living it, all of it was new for all of us, because none of us had ever gone to the Final Four or the championship game in any sport. And so we were learning together, and we had a young group of kids. There was no real big senior leadership on the team. We had a couple seniors, but not the kind that are going to push those juniors around and tell them, like, let's go, right? So we all learned together that here's what it takes to win a title. And we came up short. We did.
Just a little.
In the
did.
title game.
Just a little.
It
We
is
did,
20
but-
Yeah.
22-2. Is
But
that
now
what
you got
were?
something to
22
work
and
for
2.
next year.
We'll,
I think you
yes,
guys- yeah.
and I tell you from a coaching perspective, here's what I learned the most about this run we had. In order to win a title, there is a lot of strategic and planning that has to go into your schedule. You can't just play whoever. Your ranking and your positioning going into playoffs, the mathematics
Yeah.
of getting to the finals has to be from the top 4 spots. And if you're not in the top 4 spots, unless there's major upsets in front of you, you're not getting there.
Yeah.
So this year we're putting together a schedule that is going to be very difficult, and we put together a summer tournament season that was incredibly difficult. We just got back from Section 7 down there in Phoenix, which was quite a life experience for our kids. But we got to see the type of talent you just don't see.
From the big schools.
The big
you know.
schools. And
Yeah,
so,
so
we
let's-
learned a lot from that.
Let's talk about that real quick. You guys were the only 1A team in there. Most everybody was 4 or 5A.
There was a couple 2A teams in there, but they were the big boys, Rancho Solano Prep and Scottsdale Christian, who, let's
When he
be
says
honest,
big boys, there was a guy 7 foot tall.
there's several
I
seven.
don't know
There's
if he's
5
that
of
tall,
those.
but he was huge.
Yeah, we were the smallest school for sure. There were some 2A schools, but those are 2A schools that recruit basketball players in the state of Arizona. So they're not normal 2A schools.
Right.
We played a 6A, a 5A, and 2 4A schools in our tournament. And although we split those 4 games, we could have won all 4. Although we also could have lost all 4, right? So coming out 2-2 wasn't terrible.
Well, 2-2 is nice, but really what it was about was you were in front of a bunch of scouts. You were in front of a bunch of bigger schools, so you got a chance to see the way you match up against some of
Right.
these big schools.
Right.
It had to instill a lot of confidence in the kids.
It did. A lot of confidence. In fact, Coach Ty Banks and I, at night, we talk about, what kind of teams give us the most challenge, right? And of course, it's the 4A plus teams, but not just the 4A plus teams, the 4A plus teams with just big players. And we were surprised at the amount of schools in 4 and 5A that we could match up with against size-wise without any problem.
Well, your guys were so talented that they didn't have to be 7 feet tall. Some
Right.
of the guys on your team were going right around those 7-footers
Right.
like they were standing still. I watched it.
Did you watch some of it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. So, in fact, we are going to be reaching out to a couple of the teams that we played in that tournament and try to play them in the regular season. In fact, one of them is Tolleson, 6A school down there in the Phoenix area.
That's a great idea.
First time we ever played a 6A school, and we lost to them by 11 points, but it was a 4-point game with about 3 minutes to go, so it was a close game.
And you were without one of your normal starters, or at least he was a starter all year this year.
Stephen Lopez was not with us, and his brother Ramon was not with us, and Ramon was also a starter last year. So for us to compete at that level, down 2 major players on our team, shows the depth we have. And it bodes well for us coming up.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
So
Yeah.
last year, 4 juniors and a sophomore for most of the year was your starting 5.
Right.
So this year, 4 seniors and a junior.
If all shook
That's-
out the same, yes.
Yeah, and with state championship game experience, playoff experience, and now the tournament experience against bigger schools
Big
as well.
schools, yeah. It really
pretty good.
It grinded us to a different level this summer, and not to be discounted. The weekend before Section 7, we went and played in the AZ Preps tournament down in Prescott, and that was no pushover either. We played 1A, 3A, 5A, and a team that's not even an A. It's a Hillcrest Prep, which is where DeAndre Ayton played a few years ago, and they're just a prep school that plays all over the place, but. We split those 4 games. So, in some pretty tough competition, we won 4 out of 8 games.
You've been doing great. Well, that's for sure. We really look forward to it. The Aces, you were a finalist for Coach of the Year. Your son, Josh, was our male student athlete of the year. And you guys were the team of the year.
Let's see if we can build on it.
You got a lot to make up for now. You got to make it up again.
Mel's got a pile of Aces
Yeah.
awards sitting over there in their place. Do you want to talk about your hole-in-one?
No.
Oh, come
I
on.
don't need to talk about
Come
that.
on, I want to hear about it. Let's
Got a
hear about
hole-in-
it.
got a shot of hole-in-one in Sedona.
Yeah. Last year in
Ridiculous.
the men's club, I had a hole in one, but
That's a big deal.
It was a great moment. To watch it go in was pretty cool, especially with my son and a couple of buddies in the group. So it was a neat experience. But
Your son's pretty good at golf too, huh? Or both of them?
He doesn't beat me very
Doesn't
often.
beat me. Oh, I
But-
like it. Okay, we got some
So you can't
competition in
He
the
can
family.
beat me in basketball, but not golf.
Okay.
He actually, Josh was one of our athletes of the week real early in the season for golf because he was playing golf
That's
and
right.
football to begin the season.
Yep, and then came back
and
to
was in
athlete of
basketball
the
later. So.
week for basketball. That's right. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Is there anything that we missed that you want to?
No, I just hope everyone has a safe holiday this weekend. I know everyone's going to want to do that whole holiday theme, but just be cautious about what you're doing out there. Be mindful of your neighbors and whatnot, and We'll all get through this without any problem.
And your pets and vets too. Remember those fireworks bother them as well.
Yeah.
So don't be
please-
obnoxious with them.
Yes, don't be obnoxious, Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, me? What?
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, we have the Daily Dose. So hopefully you'll tune in and see that. We'll do a recap of tomorrow's newspaper. If you're not, have a safe and happy and healthy 4th of July, and we will see you on Tuesday.
Tuesday, I was going to say, not Monday.
we'll see you on
Tuesday, that's
Tuesday.
right.
All right, everyone. We'll see you.
See you later, everyone.